executing this project. I was circling back to your third research question regarding the areas of improvement that you intended to address in this study. And I would just value your thoughts on which of the areas do you think you made most impactful improvement on as a result of your work?
I would say the areas that this study has impacted the most, I think, is that it allows um, pretty much establishing some kind of a connection between the SysML models and the CAD models, and having that information accessible to the different stakeholders, and also creating a way to um, create an automated verification, continuous verification process. Mm-hmm. I think that those are probably the two aspects that this study definitely helped in.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Dr. Atchison.
Hello, Ninja. It was a very good presentation. A lot of hard work went into this, and I think you did an excellent job of doing the research and the writing and the presentation as well. So one of the things you mentioned was that in using these different software tools, you have to make sure that that there were issues in getting them installed depending upon what your environment was. Can you elaborate on that? What were some of the issues you ran into?
Oh, yes. Well, first, I would like to thank you so much for being here, and also for all the help that you rendered and helping me, frame my research and everything. It really means a lot to me. So when I was saying to make sure that your system is able to run the different softwares, what I was running into, I ran into a lot of problems when I was trying to get the software onto my system, because Windows decided to update from Windows 10 to Windows 11. And so when I was trying to create the different connections, I was able to open SolidWorks. I was able to design normally. But then when I was trying to establish like certain connections, certain features did not respond the way that they should have. And I couldn't understand how come something would work one moment, but then it would stop working in another moment. And so I kept running into those types of problems. And then afterwards, after going through with SolidWorks and their design team, well, not their design team, but with their tech support team, it took quite a few it took quite a few days before we realized, like, oh wait, it's because my laptop is now SolidWorks 11 and it's not compatible with the 2001 or whatever version of SolidWorks I have. And so it can be a very frustrating process, because you think that, okay, well, it should be able to run because everything else is running fine, but then it will have these little glitches, and it's hard to pinpoint whether it's something that you're doing on your end or if it's the software. So I just wanted to make sure that I put it out there before you even begin. Just make sure that your system capabilities fit within the requirements of that software, so that you can avoid a lot of those issues. And it was the same thing for Microsoft Excel. So yeah, pretty much don't update your laptop to Windows 11.
Right. So lesson learned is not to do the software the Windows updates when you're in the middle of research.
Yes, that's the takeaway.
I've had technology problems throughout the presentation. I couldn't quite understand your last comment. Would you mind repeating it? Dr. I'm not sure whether she was able.
Were you talking to me or to Ninja? Ninja, I'm
to you.
sorry.
Go ahead,
my
Dr.
comment-
Atchison. I didn't.
Oh, okay. What I was saying was you need to be sure you don't want to update your operating system when you're in the middle of doing your research. You want to stick with whatever your initial version of your software tools are that you start your research with or you start your problem with. That is a typical pothole for engineers that are not familiar with using lots of different software tools, is that when you change a version of one software tool that you already have working with other software tools or working with your operating system, and you decide, well, they've got this new version out, so you want to update it to the new version because it's got to be better, right? Because it's a newer version. But that's a mistake because you don't know what else is not capable of working with the newer version of that particular software tool. So it's best to establish a baseline across all those tools of the versions that you're going to be working with and stay with that until you complete your research, you complete the analysis and the problem you're trying to solve.
Yes.
That's what my comment was.
Thank you. Nigel, I know that your real world challenges were the motivation for this research topic. Can you comment as to how this process hopefully simplified your work environment when you were forced to work remotely due to COVID restrictions? Your interactions with the electrical engineers.
So I haven't really been able to use this in the workplace, but one area that I think it would benefit because I did have to use I did have to do requirement management for a project, and it did come up from a previous project. They said, hey, make sure you start thinking about a way that you're going to verify these requirements and validate them, because one thing that we ran into was that towards the end, when we're trying to, I guess, track them and track all the artifacts and everything like that, it becomes a really hefty task, that will put in a lot of time just to try to go and link everything up. And so that was something that was brought to me, and it just so happened to come at the same time that I was already working on this process. So, and another thing is that it does allow the electricals and other design teams to be able to look at this information as it's updating versus trying to tag that specific mechanical engineer and to be like, hey, can you open up that CAT diagram? I want to know exactly what the mass is. I will tell you, there are a lot of times where someone has to come to me and say, hey, can you send me, the mass of this system, or, I want to know what this is. So if there's already a place where that information is stored and it's constantly updating, and you can see the last time the document was saved and all that information, at least it starts a starting point to get this information. And then if it does require dialogue later on, just be like, okay, well, hey, I saw this in the document. Is everything up to date? Is it fine? And then they could say, yes, everything's fine, or no, let me go ahead and try to update it and so forth. But the information will be available without too much running around trying to find somebody else to open it for you.
Thank you. And thank you so much for all of your hard work. I want to commend you on an excellent presentation. I'd like to open the floor to questions from other participants. Anyone else that have any questions?
Dr. Bellotti, can I ask another question? This is Dr. Atchison.
Oh, certainly. I'm sorry. I didn't. Forgive me for not asking whether the committee member had presented all of their questions. Go ahead,
Uh,
Dr. Anderson.
So I noticed that you use the academic versions of these software tools. So do you know if there's any limitations in using those academic versions as opposed to using the professional versions? If some engineer at some company wanted to actually do the same kind of process that you're doing, and they went to the professional version, is there any kind of limitation or anything like that?
Well, I did test this on the professional version of SolidWorks, and so it still performed the same way. I will say that the only limitation would probably be from the SolidWorks electrical side, because there are certain features with making the SolidWorks electrical schematics that are not available in the educational version. But as far as how it operates and how it sends the information to the CAD models, all of that still remains the same.
And did you install SolidWorks on your personal computer? So did you have to purchase SolidWorks and able to do your research?
No, I didn't. So for SolidWorks, so when I was speaking, no, I didn't have to purchase SolidWorks electrical. I was able to work with SolidWorks
Okay.
to be able to get the educational versions.
Okay, so there is an educational version of the SolidWorks electrical and the mechanical.
Yes.
Okay.
So they gave me 1 year's access to these tools.
Okay. Okay, very good.
Thank
That's
you.
all I had. Thank you.
Dr. Yarbrough?
Nothing else from me at this time. Thank you.
Certainly. Anyone in the audience? And I want to welcome the guests we haven't met. Thank you so much for participating. Does anyone have any questions? Any of the cohort members? I know that both Trayvon and Sunny are performing projects related to MBSE. No questions? Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Sunny.
I don't have any questions, Dr. Barty.
No? Sunny, I'm sorry. Did you say you did or you did not?
I did not. I don't have
Okay.
any.
Oh. Well, it's good to hear from you, Sunny.
Hi, Nadia. Yeah. Good presentation.
Thank you.
Yay, we did it.
We did it.
All of that hard work is paid off. Anyone else? Trevon?
None from me.
Okay, thank you. And I need to follow up with him at any rate. Well, if there are no other questions, the committee will convene now as soon as everyone logs off. I want to thank you again for attending. And again, I want to extend my congratulations and appreciation to Naja for a job well done. So the committee will meet now once everyone else is logged off.
All right. Thank you, everybody.